today we're going to be making St. Louis style ribs. You voted for it, so we are making it. And I've got some nice St. Louis style ribs, aka known as spare ribs. Just a little bit of a anatomy for all you folks at home. So the spare ribs are actually from the lower part of the rib. The baby back ribs, which are very popular, great. Fine if you like those. Those are from the top of the rib cage. So where the spine meets the rib cage, they're from the top. And the spare ribs are from the bottom. I like spare ribs over baby back ribs. I like them because they have more meat to them, I feel, and I also like them because they have a little bit more fat and a little bit more connective tissue to them. Baby backs are fine, nothing against baby back ribs. If you like baby back ribs, that's totally fine, you do you. But I just find that baby back ribs sometimes can get a little dry. All right, so this is going to be, these ribs that we're going to be making today are going to be made in the oven. It's cold out where I am at. And, springtime comes with a lot of, waxing and waning of temperatures. And today it's 30 degrees. And I don't really want to be spending a whole lot of time outside, in and out of the house, letting cold air in. And, smoking, you do kind of have to babysit the meat just for a little bit. But these oven ribs are going to be just as good. And you know what? Hey, you can make them all year round if you like. You don't have to be, just doing oven ribs during the winter. And I've pleased many people with these oven ribs. So watch. We're going to take our slab of ribs here, and we're going to make sure they're nice and dry. And I did that with some paper towel. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to turn our ribs over. We are going to take another piece of paper towel and take off this membrane here. It's a very wafer thin membrane. But the problem is that if we don't take it off, it's going to be kind of chewy. And so what I like to do is I like to take a paper towel and go in between each rib and kind of loosen the membrane just a little bit. And then pull it off. It might not come off in one piece. It might come off in several pieces, but that's okay. You can kind of trim this if you want to, like this little chunk of meat, if you want to, for uniformity's sake. All right, so the next step is to take out your dried ribs and put them on a baking sheet that is lined with plastic wrap. Then we are going to brine our ribs. This is extremely important to do. It will make all the difference in the world between a super flavorful rib and a boring one that needs a lot of love. And what you do is you just take some kosher salt. Now I'm using Celtic salt, which I'm a fan of, and I had a little conversation with one of our viewers the other day about the different kinds of salt out there. but kosher salt is just fine. You can also use sea salt as well if you'd like, but just make sure that you coat the rib generously with salt. None of this little fairy sprinkle dust stuff. So you do that on the front and back side of the rib. All right, once you're done doing the front and back side of the rib, then we are going to wrap the rib in plastic wrap. All right, so this is nice and neat, didn't make a lot of mess. And this is going to go in our handy dandy refrigerator for 8 to 12 hours. Don't you just love that? We are going to be putting on our dry rub right now. So this guy has been resting ever so nicely in our refrigerator for about 12 hours with our salt, our nice salt on both sides. And now we're ready for some rub. So in this handy dandy bowl, I have 2 tablespoons of smoked paprika, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, cumin, garlic powder, mustard powder, and a half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. And we're going to put that all over the rib, and we're going to let that set back in the refrigerator for 4 to 6 hours. One tidbit about this is that if you do want a little bit of sweet, you can add, um, a couple tablespoons of brown sugar if you want to. So we're going to unwrap our ribs and do the dry rub right now. And you kind of just want to massage it into the meat. Give that meat some love, you know what I mean? And get these ribs real tender. All right, we're going to flip, do it on the other side. Doesn't that look pretty? That looks pretty, doesn't it? All right, so we're going to plastic wrap this again and put it back into the refrigerator 4 to 6 hours. And we have our ribs that have been in the refrigerator now for about 4.5 hours with the dry rub on them. And we are going to take them out of the plastic wrap and put it wrapped up in tin foil. All right, so we got our rack of ribs. I got it on some tin foil here. All right, so we're going to be wrapping these guys up. I'm going to wrap the ribs up in some tin foil, and we're going to make a little boat because we are going to put just a little bit of liquid into our rib boat. And that is a combination of a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar and a heaping tablespoon of some cherry preserves. You could do cherry jelly or, a cherry jam or something like that. You could also use apricot spread or, you can get creative with it. You could do peach preserves maybe would be good. The vinegar in here is going to help break down some of that tough connective tissue, and it's going to help keep the meat moist. And the cherry preserves is going to act as a little bit of a sweetener too, which I kind of like. I have our rib boat here, and I'm going to pour in the cherry preserves and the vinegar onto the side. Now, as the meat breaks down and tenderizes, water is naturally going to be released from the meat. So I don't want to add too much vinegar there because I don't want it to be real watery. So just, a tablespoon, a tablespoon or so, tablespoon and a half of vinegar is really all you need. And I like to use apple cider vinegar because it adds a nice flavor. All right, so I got our rib boat. It's on a baking tray, and it's going to go into an oven, a 250-degree oven for 2.5 to 3 hours. So our ribs are out of the oven. They've been in a 250-degree oven for 3 hours, and they're going to be fall off the bone. Okay, pretty sure about that. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some barbecue sauce on top of this, and then put it in a broiler on 500 degrees for about 3 to 5 minutes. You can do any sauce that you like, anything that strikes your fancy. And today I'm going to be using Rufus Teague's Touch of Heat. My husband and I really like this sauce. Okay, they're not they're not sponsoring this video, sadly. So maybe one day, but any kind of barbecue sauce you like. Now you can make your own. You can totally go that route. All right, so I'm going to do that and then put it in the broiler. All right, so you see how the top's starting to bubble? That's what we want. So this is going to be in for another 2 minutes. And watch it, because things get hot real fast. So you don't want things to burn, and things can definitely burn really quickly in the broiler. So keep an eye on it. All right, folks, so these ribs are out of the broiler. They've been in there for approximately 5 minutes. Now, I'm kind of the gal that likes a little bit of them burny things on there, so it's yummy, crispy things. All right, so these are pretty hot, and we'll let these cool down. And then my favorite part is reviewing the ribs. I like eating. That's the fun part for me.
Hopefully it's not too burning hot. Okay, it's quite warm.
It's pretty hot.
You gotta have your ribs warm or hot. Okay, seasoned perfectly. I've had some ribs before that are way too salty. City Park.
Oh, snap. Shots fired.
Yeah. Fall off the bone.
Yeah.
Light bites all the way off.
That's right. That's how you do it.
Oh, you're still here?
Yeah. Bon appetit.